Hello, everybody. I am finally getting started. I'm sorry it's been a little bit of a nightmare for some of you trying to join me, but I'm happy that I've solved the problem and we are actually going to get going. So I'm going to ask that you don't unmute yourself, please, throughout the whole time that we are together. Um, at the end, we might have enough time to answer some questions, but in the meantime, please stay muted throughout the whole thing. So a little bit about me, because some of you don't know me. I want to say that I'm a surfer and I'm an adventurer and I love getting out there, even in the cold in New York City. I do surf in the snow. And I was a leader in educational leadership for 15 years. I worked in Asia, worked in Europe, and I'm now in the US. When I focused on education, I worked with high achieving students, and the idea was to get them to perform even better. I also coached teachers through helping those high achieving students. And so it was kind of a logical progression for my work to become more focused on high achievers and high performers. And I now coach them one on one, and I coach them for groups and also through workshops that I enjoy doing. So my training as a coach was with the Neuro Leadership Institute, and I also did my master's in educational leadership and change. So I'm really, really excited to bring this to you tonight. And what we'll do is we'll go through a process of thinking about the past, the present, and the future. So I'm hoping that you have the handout with you so that you can follow along. If you don't, I highly suggest that you get it. It's in the link is in the email that I sent you. Try to have it close to you. Before we get started though, I'd love for us to just take a couple of minutes to breathe, right? Just to be present and be focused, because this work is quite deep and will require a lot of your attention. In fact, all of your attention. So please make sure that you're in a room where no one's going to bother you, no one's going to come in, ask you for anything. And let's get started. I'd like you to have your feet on the ground if they are not there yet. What I mean by that is have as many points of contact between the floor and the sole of your feet, so you feel really nice and grounded. And then start to grow a little taller. So thinking that someone is sort of pulling a string on top of your head right there, and maybe opening up your shoulders a little bit more and having your chin parallel to the floor. And at this point, it might be nice for you to close your eyes for a second. Beautiful. And just take a couple of lovely breaths here. And empty all the air that you have in your lungs right now. Taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Hold it for a second. Out through the mouth with a sigh. One more deep breath in through the nose. Hold it and let it out. Let's do one more. Inhale through the nose. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Take one more sip of air and let it all out. All right. Welcome. I am so excited to share this powerful process with you. This is all about identifying your successes, celebrating your successes, and really going through some deep questioning in order to create a phenomenal 2019. We need to slow down, right? That's just a fact. For all of us in this world, we need to slow down. And the next 50 minutes that we have together are all about that, about thinking and slowing down. Through my work with high achievers, I see that just so many of us forget to celebrate our achievements, right? We do something incredible, we get people's admiration, and then all of a sudden, we give ourselves maybe like 28 seconds to celebrate ourselves. And the next thing you know, we're thinking, what's next? What did I do wrong? How can I do it better next time? So, what I want us to do tonight is to take time, right? I want you to take the time to celebrate yourself, celebrate your 2018 achievements so that you can actually start the year with positivity. You can see just how much you've accomplished. Another thing that I've noticed with high achievers, with a lot of us, is that we find it hard often to have focus, right? We want to do everything. Also, we want to do it yesterday and we want to do it alone, but that's another story. But we want to do everything. Having a clear vision, knowing exactly where you're going, is definitely going to help you make sure that you spend your time, your energy in the right places. So it's really thinking about working towards what actually matters to you. And I'll say that it's also super important to take the time to pause because it's been a pretty intense year, right? There's been so much going on. Everything on the news can be so negative, and that makes it hard for us to stay positive. So having a clear vision will help you to stay focused, but also to realize that during that crazy intense year with all the, excuse my French, bad shit that's going on in the world, you have done some incredible things, my friend. So let's focus on those. Finally, I know that you think that you haven't done enough this year because otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. I'm going to tell you that I'm 100% certain that you've accomplished a lot more than you think. A lot more than you think. And I want to help you own this. So let's hit pause and let's take stock. And before we do that, I want you to think of the concept of the gap because I think it's super important in the way we look at our past achievements. So the concept of the gap comes from someone called Dan Sullivan. And he talks about actual one. Now, actual one is your level at the start of the year. So let's say you started 2018 with 100 apples, right? Actual two is where you are at the end of the year. So you now have 125 apples. The gap is the gap between actual one, where you started the year, and your goal. So let's say that your goal was 150 apples. So now we're thinking about the gap, and that's super demoralizing. So I want us to not focus on the gap, right? What we want to focus on is the progress that you've made from actual one to actual two. Because at the end of the day, or at the end of the year, actually, you have 25 apples more. And those apples are amazing. You can make cider, you can make apple pie, you can give them to your kids' teachers. I mean, apples are incredible. So you have an extra 25 apples, and that counts for something. So let's leave the gap to the side for now, and let's actually focus on those 25 apples. Make sense? Let's actually get started, and we'll start with some celebrations. So here's how this process is going to go. I'm going to give you about a minute to a minute and a half to think about different areas of your life and the achievements that you've made. So what I'd like you to do is to make sure that in front of you, either on your computer or hopefully you have it printed, you have the handouts that I sent you. If you don't have it printed, don't panic, don't worry about it. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. Make sure that you're writing these things down. So we're going to start by looking at lots of different areas of your life because we always focus on like one or two, right? But let's really dig in. Let's really go deep. Let's start with your work and career. Okay, so let's go with work and career. What I'd like you to do is to have your pen ready and tell me or write down, what is it that you're proud of having accomplished in your work and career in 2018? What goals have you set the foundations for? right? And that's super important. Like, what is it that you've actually prepared in 2018 for 2019? And I want you to make as many notes as possible. You can make them as short as you want, as long as you want, but make as many notes as possible. What moments did you enjoy at work this year? Right? What was a moment where you laughed with your team? A moment where you spent time with your customers, where you had a really great time on an outing, or when you were super proud of something you accomplished? What were your biggest breakthroughs? What did you do this year that you'd never been able to do before in your work? What sort of praise or recognition or maybe gratitude did you get? Right? Did someone write to you and say, thank you so much for doing this for me? Thank you so much for helping me through. We forget the little things. We so forget the little things. But who did you help? Even if they didn't send you a note for recognition or for gratitude, like, it doesn't matter. Who did you help? How did you hack your productivity? What did you do to change the way you work to make sure that you worked smarter, that you worked better? Perhaps you were assertive, like maybe you spoke up for yourself, right? Anything that comes to mind. And now, slowly, we're going to move to our next section. And our next session is called Show Me the Money, Baby. And that's all about money. And I know some of us are thinking, well, I really didn't do what I wanted to do. I made a lot less money than I thought I would. We're not thinking about the gap, right? What did you actually do? What financial goals did you reach? What did you actually manage to do this year that you haven't done before? What money related decisions did you make that will set you up nicely for the future? Maybe for 2019, maybe for later on. Um, what did you invest in that turned out to be a fantastic idea? Were you able to save any money? Any at all, right? It doesn't matter how much. If you're able to save some money, that's incredible. That's much better than most of the people in the world. Any debt that you had that you managed to clear? Did you start a side hustle? Did you start thinking, oh my God, I could actually make money? Sometimes you don't even have to start it, but having the idea, is there an idea that you're sort of digesting right now that you're sort of thinking, oh wow, that could be a really cool thing to do and I could actually make money with this? It's really important, right? Even if it's a tiny little way that you've changed your financial situation, that you've improved it, or that you've taken steps to improve it, recognize that, recognize yourself. Let's move on to our next area. And that next one is leisure. And remember how I said we're going to slow down? That's super important. And that's one of the things, right, for leisure that helps us to actually slow down during the year. So, what is it that you did this year in order to slow down? What is it that you did in order to have fun, to enjoy yourself? What did you enjoy the most in your day to day life? Maybe you managed to go to yoga or to a writing class or anything like that. What did you manage to do every single day? Maybe, for me, it's just like every day this year, maybe not every day, but pretty much every day, I've managed to go and walk the dog with Mark in the morning. And that's amazing. That is one of my most treasured moments of the day. It's a little thing, but it's a beautiful moment. So, what are the little things that you've done? And also, maybe what are the big things, right? Where did you travel? What did you discover? What new thing did you see that you hadn't seen before? Maybe you went away by yourself for the first time, or maybe you went back to visit a place that you hadn't seen in a long time. Maybe you started running, or maybe you just went for a run once. You know what? That counts. You did it. That counts. Every little thing counts. Maybe you decided to go to a museum that you had never been to. what things did you do this year in order to give yourself a little time, give yourself that moment of pleasure, that moment of self-care? Because we always think of those as like, well, I didn't really go on a big vacation, I didn't really do anything like that. Those are not the thing that matter, right? Everything counts. Yeah, of course they matter, but they're not the only things that matter. All the little things, they're what really, really counts. So what did you do? Let's move to relationships. And with relationships, we're going to think about all sorts of relationships, right? Who are the people in your life who have mattered this year? In 2018, have you built new friendships? Have you met a romantic partner? Maybe you found love, right? Maybe you actually decided to let go of some relationships. Maybe you ended a relationship that was really difficult, whether it was a friendship or a romantic relationship. Did you spend time? What was your favorite moment with your spouse, with your best friend, with your parents? What did you do with them? Did you maybe take the time to heal a relationship that you had and that maybe was a little funny? What did you do there? Think about those people who have had a deep impact on you this year. Why is that? What was so important about the way that you relate to them? And let's go to our next section. Keep saying session. Let's go to our next section. And this one is health and well-being. And again, I want you to think of all the tiny little things, right? Remember, I was saying maybe you just went for one run. That's fine. That counts. You did it. You went for a run, and that's amazing. What other actions did you take to be physically strong this year? Maybe you decided that you were going to try to go to a gym and you tried it once and it wasn't for you, but you made that decision and you did it and you went, and that's the little thing that counts, right? What were some moments where you felt really, really good in your body? Maybe you went for a swim this summer and you were in the water and you're like, oh my God, I'm talking to myself, of course. This is so beautiful, right? To feel the water all around me. And then maybe you sat on the beach and then you felt the sun on your skin. You're like, oh, this is incredible. This feels so good. I'm there right now, in case you couldn't tell. But this is it, right? What is it that made you feel really good this year? Did you change your diet, or did you cut something out that maybe just wasn't good for you? It was one of those things that you're like, oh, I really shouldn't be eating that, and you actually made the decision to not eat it anymore. How did you give yourself permission to slow down? And I'm going to ask that question one more time. How did you give yourself permission to slow down? Because we, as humans, right? And especially as high achievers, high performers, I know all of you on this call are. How do we actually, or how do you give yourself permission to say, you know what? Today I'm not going to do anything and it's going to be freaking awesome because I need a break. And that's okay. So how did you do that? How did you give yourself the permission? And maybe, you've been conscious of your breath. How did you take time to sort of be like, you know what? I'm alive. So, how did you take care of your health and well being this year? Let's move to one of my favorite areas, which is self actualization, right? One of my values is growth, and another is challenge. And I think it's so, so important to keep growing, to keep learning. So, what have you done this year in order to start learning or keep learning or continue to learn? when did you take time to connect to yourself, right? And perhaps that is through meditation, through prayer, whatever works for you. How did you take time to do that? What spiritual practice did you start? Did you maybe actually lean into some of your fears? And that would be incredible. We all know that's where growth happens, right? So, did you manage to do that for yourself? Is there one? I'm not asking. Actually, I should have written that in the singular, right? Which fear did you lean into? Because if it's one, I commend you. That's incredible. Congratulations. What actions did you take or did you follow in order to grow? Oops, I'm putting my timer on and clearly it's telling me it's done. Um, yeah, what actions did you take to grow your self-awareness this year? Is there anything that you did in particular that helped you realize what you were feeling in the moment? Did you unlock a new part of yourself? Did you maybe by doing something new realize, wow, maybe I am that person? What challenges did you overcome? Even if they were tiny challenges, anything counts, anything counts. And again, even if you did it once, right? Maybe you downloaded an app, maybe you downloaded Headspace, right? That's something you did. Give yourself the credit because that's what we're here for. So give yourself the credit and take all the credit. And now let's move away a little bit from thinking about you and let's think about other people and the world. Let's think about your impact on your community. Let's think about your bigger purpose here on this planet. Which community did you support this year or communities? Did you volunteer your time or your energy somewhere? Maybe you simply made a donation for someone, right? Sometimes we think we don't have the time or we don't make the time, but we make a donation, and that's fantastic. What actions did you take to make the world a better place for different people, but also for yourself, right? Who did you give your services to? What causes or who did you speak up for? Maybe it was a pregnant woman on the subway and you asked someone to stand up, or maybe you stood up to give them your seat, right? Maybe it was an old lady that you helped cross the road. Who did you help? Who did you give your time to? How did you help change the world? And you know that everything we do has ripples on every other area of life. So everything you do, everything you did has impacted others. How did you impact others positively? Now, I'm sure you've got plenty of stuff that you've written down. You've done so much this year, I have no doubt. I'd like you to start thinking about one thing. What was the hardest thing you had to overcome in 2018? Maybe you haven't overcome it. Maybe you're still working on it. If you are still working on it, then I want you to project yourself 10 years from now. What would be or what will be the valuable lesson you can take, the constructive learning that you take from this situation? If you've already overcome that situation, fantastic. What did you learn from it? What's the lesson? Just one thing. We're really thinking about that one thing that was really, really difficult. Now, I'm hoping you've had a little time, and if you haven't had enough time to write it all down, that's okay. You'll have that handout. You'll be able to do that later on by yourself. I'm going to ask you to go back to it anyways, because I'm sure you haven't been able to write everything. So let's go into the present, right? Let's think deep. Let's think about the present. Because now that we've established that you're a phenomenal person, you're incredible, you've done all this incredible work on yourself, on the world, on other people, in your actual job. You've been doing so much stuff to stay healthy, both mentally and physically. You're an incredible person. Now, let's think about 2019, right? And let's think about what might be holding you back because we want to create even more incredible stuff. So let's think about obstacles. Let's think about what's been happening this year that you don't want to carry into 2019. So let's think about the present, right? Let's think about the first thing that we're going to think about is what's your zone of genius? And what I mean by that is what really gets you in a state of flow. When you're in your zone of genius, you know, because nothing else matters, right? The world could crumble around you. It doesn't matter. You're in the zone, you're in your spot, you're exactly where you need to be. What are those one or two things? If you can just imagine, think of one that would be incredible. What's that one thing that you're amazing at? And let's move away from it for a second. Now, that beautiful thing, is it in your life? And let's think about what's actually missing in your life. If you go back to those sections that we looked at before, right, where we wrote all the things that you've accomplished, was there one where you thought, you know, I did do incredible stuff, but maybe not enough? So, what's missing? What's missing in 2018 from your life, from your business? And this is the big question. What did you do in order to keep it out of your life in 2018? If it's missing and you'd like to have it there, what did you do in order to keep it out of your life? How did you manage that? Remember, I said I was going to ask you deep questions, and that's definitely one of them. And now, let's think about those things that are in your life, but they're not a hell yes, and they're not a hell no. They're a hell maybe, and hell maybe doesn't exist. We don't want a hell maybe, right? Because that means you're settling for stuff. If it's not a hell yes, then you don't really want it in your life, right? And sometimes it's just what it is. Sometimes, as long as we realize that we're tolerating, we're settling for it, we can do something about it. So, what is it? What is it? What are the things, or who are those people who are sort of lingering and they're holding you back? They're not a hell yes, and they're not a hell no. They're a hell maybe, and we don't want them. Who is it? What is it? And you shouldn't be thinking about this too much, right? It's really about throw it out there. First things that come to mind are usually going to be the ones that are the most impactful. Let's keep thinking about the present. What are your déjà vu? And I'm going to pronounce it with my French accent. Déjà vu. What are your déjà vu goals? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? They've been on your list one year after the other, after the other. And then ask yourself, what's up with that, right? Think about the hell yes or hell no. Is it something, if it's a hell no, it's fine. Let it go. Let it go. It doesn't matter. There's a thing, a concept called sunk cost fallacy. And it's this idea that we've invested so much in one thing, we have to keep it going. Like, no, we don't. There is nothing that says that we have to keep something going. If it's not something you've accomplished and you've seen it over and over again, chances are it's not a hell yes. It's not high on your priorities list, so let it go. What are those goals? Maybe it's just one. Maybe you don't have them. That's awesome. What are the top three things that in 2018 you procrastinated on? Was it weeks, months, years? And now ask yourself the question, is it a hell yes or is it a hell no? Because if you've been procrastinating, once again, it's not top of your priority. So either ask yourself what's holding you back and actually make it happen, or just let it go. All right. If anything else has held you back in 2018, be honest, write it down. But this is where we're at, right? We've done the work to see what was incredible in 2018. You know what you're capable of. You're capable of incredible things. You know what's held you back. So you know exactly, we've created that self-awareness so that you know exactly where you are today. Where do you want to go? Right? This is super important. You're badass, you're incredible, but where do you want to be? And I really want you to dive into the new year with motivation, with focus, with all of that. And I know that I got so much value from doing this exercise that I really want you to get this value too. I want you to have like super clear ideas of where you're going in 2019. It's going to be freaking amazing. So make sure that you have the handout handy. But for now, I'd actually like you to close your eyes for a little while. And I want to tell you about the concept of mental contrasting before we start the next exercise. I'm going to take you through a little visualization, just thinking about next year, thinking about your goals, thinking about where you want to be, thinking about that vision in each of those areas we talked about before. Now, mental contrasting, the idea is that you visualize your goals and the obstacles that might stop you from getting there. It's really important to do that. There's a lot of research that shows that visualization on like, a beautiful fantasy of what might be coming up, it actually is very demotivating for most people. However, if we add mental contrasting, which is visualizing our obstacles, there's a lot of research. A lady called Gabrielle Oettingen, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm happy to send you the name later if you'd like it. She did so much research on this idea of mental contrasting. And she actually showed that the results or that the reason it works is that you discover insights and revelations about why your current reality doesn't match your future goals. And that's exactly what we want to do. We've established our current reality. We've established all the obstacles. Now let's think about the future goals and we'll look at, okay, well, why might we have obstacles for those? It also shows that when we use mental contrasting, you're more likely to do the right thing. You're better at interpreting negative feedback, and you're subconsciously connecting your future wish, so your vision, together with your current reality. So you actually might have a better chance of making it work. It's also super important to note that in her research, this professor realized that mental contrasting only resulted in more motivation for people who had high expectations of success. So if they were convinced, if people knew or were convinced that they could achieve that goal, then mental contrasting had much more impact. If people didn't expect to that their goals might be realistic or that they didn't expect to achieve them, then this ended up being less motivating for people. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're creating that vision. So let's do it. And you don't have to close your eyes, but I would advise you to do it. No one can see you, and it actually helps you to sort of be there. And you might see me close my eyes at some point. So, the first thing I want you to focus on is your job in 2019. And let's think in December 2019. So, today is the 26th of December 2018, 1 year from now. Where are you working? Are you in the same place? What's the culture like? Are the people you're working with supportive? Do they help you grow? Do they push you? Think about the experiences you have at work in 2019. What's amazing? What's the impact that your work allows you to have and that you absolutely love? And as you're thinking about your job, right, think about the money it gives you. Think about that bank account, that savings account is going up. What's happening financially in 2019? You've got the fantastic dream job. Where are you living? I want you to imagine your home. Maybe it's the same home. Do you redecorate it? Maybe you decide to change some of the features in it. With all the money that you're getting, what are you doing? How are you helping other people with it? And what does it allow you to do in terms of your free time? Where do you go on vacation in 2019? Are you on the beach? I am. Are you in the mountains? Are you skiing? What are the new things that you're trying in 2019? What is it that you've always wanted to try? See yourself doing it. How does it make you feel to finally do that thing you've always wanted to do? And who are you with? Who do you spend most of your time with in 2019? Who in your life is bringing you loving, empowering, caring relationships? And how does it feel to have that? I want you to get the actual feeling. What sensations does it give you to have those beautiful relationships in your life? To be nurtured, to be taken care of, to be given help. What does that allow you to do? Having that sense of security, that sense of safety. What are you now able to do in 2019 because you have that? And how else do you feel in your body in 2019? Remember that moment we talked about earlier where you might have been in the water, for example? What's that moment in 2019? When do you feel great in your body? Are you strong physically, emotionally? You able to set really strong, clear boundaries for yourself? Are you full of life? How does that manifest? What does that look like in your life in 2019? And since you've taken care of all these important things, finances, your health, your job, you have the freedom to think about self-actualization. And that's a gift, right? We're so lucky to have that. How do you enjoy that in 2019? How do you live your values? Do you want to learn something new? How closely connected to yourself are you in 2019? And let's take it just for a moment out into the world, because once you have all your basic needs covered, you're self actualizing, the most important thing becomes meaning, right? It becomes your why. Why are you doing all these things? What's the impact that having all these other areas of your life balanced with? What's the impact that allows you to have? And I want you to see it. I want you to see the people that you're helping. Is it kids? Is it animals? Is it I don't know, victims of domestic violence? Is it the ocean? Who are you helping and what are you doing for them? See yourself being there. How does that make you feel to know that you have that deep impact on the world because you've taken care of yourself? You're able to give, you're able to actually be there for others. How does that feel? And so I want you to take a couple of breaths here with your eyes closed if they are still closed. Taking in all the good stuff that you've thought about as you inhale, and letting go of anything that you don't want anymore as you exhale. Taking in all those feelings of positivity, of service, of impact, releasing anything that no longer serves you on the exhale. Let's take just one more breath in and one more breath out. And if you haven't done so yet, open your eyes, and I'd like you to go back to page 15 of your booklet, of your handout, and just make a few notes of what you saw in your vision when you were thinking about work and career. What did you see? Who were you working with? What experiences did you want to have at work? How much time does it give you to do the things you love? I didn't write all the questions there, but you get the idea. How about moving down to page 16 and thinking about money? What's going on in 2019? What did you see? Did you think about your home? Did it change at all? What did you see? What do you have that you did not have? And maybe it's like, I don't know, you bought a new computer or anything. I don't know. What was it? What did you see? What was important? Why did it change everything? Let's move down to leisure in a second. Take maybe a few more seconds there on the financial aspect. And let's move down to leisure on page 17. What did you do in 2019? And I so want to know. I want to know where you went on vacation. I want to know who you were with, what you did. What did you try for the first time? Did you get some help from anyone? Where did you travel to? I want to know. I want to know it all. And I want you to write for each of these sections just as many details as possible. The clearer your vision, write the colors, write the feelings, the temperature, right? If you're thinking about activities that you're doing, what's the temperature? Write as many details as possible. You want to live it. And I'd love for you to write the emotions that this enables you to have. What are the feelings, the emotions that come with doing all those things in 2019? How about the relationships? What's your ideal vision there? Who is in your life in 2019? Who is not in your life? Who is giving you care and support? Who are the people that you can turn to? Who are the people that you have rekindled a friendship with? Who are the people that you actually have spent time with? You always say, I really need to see so and so more often. What have you done about it in 2019? And what are your friendships like? Are they fulfilling? Are they loving? Have you created a circle of people who maybe are going through the same thing as you? Right? I'm in a group coaching program at the moment. I'm actually being coached in it, and it's so fantastic to have the support of the group because we're all going through the same thing. And so we can share ideas, and I'm already seeing those friendships evolve, and it's beautiful. So who are those people in 2019 who push you? How about your health? What did you see there? What are you eating in 2019? Better be good. How do you exercise? Do you drink lots of water? Are you strong? All the things. Write all the things down. I'd love to know how you were full of life in 2019. How did that feel? You know that feeling when you know that you are at the perfect place in your body, and you wake up in the morning and you have energy, all of those things. How did that happen for you in your vision there? And let's move to the last two. In 2019, where were you on your life journey? What did you see in terms of your growth, in terms of how you changed, what you learned? How did you actually create your life? How did you actually, I'm going to change that to what did you do to create your life? We can think, right? We can visualize all of those things, but if we don't take action, we're not creating anything. Right? So it starts with thought, maybe, but honestly, I actually think it starts with action. So what did you do in order to make shift happen? In 2019. And when you thought about community and impact and the bigger purpose of your life, what did you see there? Who did you serve in 2019? Who did you help? When you're thinking about that vision, when you were seeing yourself there, what were you doing? And before you move to page 22, I really want you to consider this, right? I talked about obstacles earlier and the importance of knowing what it is that's holding us back. Because once we actually have that understanding, we can do something about it. Whether we do or not is a different story, but if we have the awareness of the obstacles, of what's holding us back, then we can actually move forward. So at the end of next year, on December 26, 2019, if you're disappointed with what you've done, why will that be? Because let's be honest, we know, right? We always know in advance why we might fail. And I want to make sure it doesn't happen. be super honest with yourself. Be honest. No one else is going to see this, right? This is for you. These are your thoughts. So why might you fail? And what I'm going to encourage you to do, because right now we don't have enough time to do this, but what I'm going to encourage you to do is go back. After we've finished here, I want you to go back to the vision that you've created. And for each section, I'd like you to think about what the obstacles might be. It's a lot of work, but it's important, right? And I want you to do that within 72 hours, because research shows that if you wait any longer, you're probably not going to do it. So the paper that you have in your hands, I want you to go back to it, take that handout, spend some time, spend even more time on 2018, on things that you accomplished, right? Go through your calendar. You might realize like, whoa, I did that and I did that and I forgot about that, right? So go back to your calendar, see what you did, spend some time doing this. I hope that your vision is a little clearer now, because once you know what obstacles were holding you back and you know exactly what it is that you want, now you know how you need to show up in the world. How can you be that person that you saw in 2019, in December 2019? How can you be that person today? How can you act like that person? How can you dress like the person you want to be? If you think of a job that you really want, in order to get it, act the part, right? If you're dressed in like jeans and slacks all the time and you want a CEO job, it's probably not going to happen because people are not going to notice you. So what do you want? And it's not just about clothes. I mean, most of you probably know me enough to know that I really don't care what your clothes look like. But you get the image, right? How do you need to show up in the world in order to be that person today? And if you find it hard to see that, then maybe there's a block somewhere that you need to work on. So maybe dig a little deeper into this idea of obstacles, right? And there are lots of ways that you can do that. You can do some thinking by yourself. Honestly, I would always recommend having a resonate relationship, whether it is a therapist, a coach, a spiritual leader, whoever it is. But asking for help and working on things with someone who can sort of resonate, or who can mirror, your thinking. Move out of your comfort zone. That's where you learn, right? Keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So it doesn't end here, right? Every day, review your vision, share it, read it, visualize it, think about it, tell it to people, make it come to life. Make that thing happen, make it yours. Sharing it is such a powerful way to be accountable, to be motivated. And each time you talk about it, it'll become a little clearer for yourself. So we've got a couple of minutes. I'm sorry that we started late. I've never done this before, so there you go, leaning into my own fears, and I'm happy that I did it, and I'm happy that it worked in the end. But here are a few ways that I can support you in 2019. I'm going to continue to share content through my blog, through my website, all of those things, Instagram, etc., etc. I have a few events planned. By the way, we've got about 5 hours, not even 4 hours, to sign up for Step into 2019 with Purpose. If you're in New York City, this event, the early bird ends tonight at 11:59 p.m. So you want to get in there and grab your ticket now, and you can use the code into 2019 to get 15% off the tickets. What else? I'm going to help you through one-on-one coaching. I am launching the League of Extraordinaries, which I'm super excited about. It's my group coaching program, and I know that some of you will love it, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. Also, I will do some more webinars. That's one of my plans, and I'm hoping to work on a video series as well. So lots of stuff coming up for me, lots of stuff coming up for you. I really hope that this was useful. And give me a little wave in the chat box if you'd like to. I'm gonna say goodbye and sign off in a couple of minutes. But I wanted to thank every single one of you for attending. I'm so grateful that you're in my life. I'm so grateful that you took the time for yourself to do this. And I can't wait to see you soon in 2019. I love you guys. See you soon. Oh, thanks for the comments, guys. I'm going to end the meeting. I'm going to end it. Bye. Bye. Bye.